Hey ladies and gentlemen, so I do have a little something, not necessarily new to show you, but something I've had kicking around for a while. I'm sure a few of you have seen the hammer Mech mod, and I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I have used it a little bit. I've had it for quite a while actually. I've experienced a few up and down moments with it, and this is a clone, I do believe. I believe it's made by a company called Tobeco. Right now I have this sitting on a K-Fun. This K-Fun's been through hell and back. It actually fell off my car, broke the original plastic tank, so I put the stainless steel or the steel one that you see currently on there. But we're not worried about the tank, we're worried about how it works. The hammer's not a bad little device, although it is finicky. It doesn't always like to fire some things. It has to do with, there's a lot of contacts in this thing that you wouldn't normally have with a tube mod. You've got one more layer of contact that's supposed to touch a tube inside, and I'll show you how this thing breaks completely apart in the up and close section of this video. But I guess we'll give it a little vape and I'll just kind of demonstrate how it works and try to get this all in frame. So fire buttons on the bottom, or I should say on the side, and you can easily press it with your index finger if you use it in 18650 mode like it is currently in. Just to give you an idea, this is a 1 ohm single coil build on the K-Fun, and I guess let's give it a vape. And it vapes the K-Fun just fine. At 1 ohm, I didn't do any voltage drop checking on it, don't really care. I use it and go, yeah, okay, it works well. It does work, but like I said, it does have issues that make me kind of not want to use it as much as I possibly would, like with my Nemesis or the Tesla or the big Panzer 26650. So anyway, so we'll vape this one out and we'll get into the up and close section of the video. Welcome back, guys. So here's the box the hammer comes in. Again, this is the hammer clone. It doesn't really say who cloned it, but everything that I have done for research dictates that I believe the company that made this clone is called Tobeco. Tobeco makes a lot of vape accessories, supplies, mods, whatever, whatnot. So, but this is the box it came in. I did purchase this one from eBay. I will have the price listed in the description of the video, so you guys have all that information available. But let's stop talking about price and let's start talking about the device. So here we have the box. Nothing too crazy, just a box. It's a nice design on there. It looks like they cloned the original packaging from the original builder of this device. So let's open it up. So just a standard box, pretty nice. So in the box we have a certificate of inspection, and it's dated, and looks like they stamped it passed. So that's always good to see that it was stamped passed, although who knows, you know, they might just have a bunch of these all stamped and ready to go. You never know. So anyway, we'll get back into the inside here. So we do have the main body of the hammer and 2 extension tubes. As the main body stands, it is in 18350 mode. With this ring, that would give you the 18500 or 18490, depending on what type of battery you're using. And then the longer tube is for 18650. I do believe you can use this outer tube, this shorter tube with 18650 to give you the an extension for your kick module. I have yet to try it. I might just try it in the video just to see if it works or not. If it doesn't, I'll still post it, that way everybody knows. So let's unbox this. Well, first of all, in the box we have a nice formed padding foam in here to keep the device safe in shipping, and also looks kind of nice when you just want to put it away. So we'll start by taking out the main body of the Mech, and we'll set the rest of this aside for right now. With the main body, you have your fire button here. You do have a larger locking ring, although I did find the locking ring to be just a tiny bit of a pain in the butt to use. It isn't reverse threaded, I don't believe. Let me just take the button out and crank on this a little bit. I did have problems with this locking ring. In fact, sometimes I just don't use the locking ring on it because you can set it down without it firing. But there is a locking ring feature on here, and like I said, it doesn't work very well. In fact, it's stuck right now. So that's one thing you guys do have to know. In fact, like in the intro of the video, like I said, there are a few things about this mod that are a little wonky, just a little strange, or don't work quite as well as I thought they would. This is an adjustable button, so you do have a flathead screwdriver slot here. The button does not have a lock pin, so it does turn, and I have found that sometimes with buttons that turn, after using them a few times, they will loosen up and then extend out. It's not always bad, but something worth noting, so we'll thread this back in just a touch. It does have an insulator, so this will work with batteries that have either no wrapping extending onto the bottom, so you don't have to worry about that insulating issue. It does have some fairly nice engraving in the bottom, and it is nicely painted in black ink. This is chromed, and I believe it's chromed brass, so we'll set that down. Here is the next piece. There is a locking ring here, and I wish they would have put a couple of slits in it. Would have made it easier to get out, but in any case, I can usually take my finger and use it to just unthread it a little bit. Get my finger in there and just twist it a little. And this ring, this threaded ring, will come out. And that gives you access to the inner tube. So here's the threaded ring. So it's got threading on the outside, threading on the inside to adapt for the barrels and extension and main body. So we'll set that down here. Next thing that has to come off before you can take the internals out is the top cap. The top cap is kind of sometimes strange. It doesn't always get connections. So here is a close-up of the top cap. That is a floating brass contact in the center, so it's a spring-loaded contact. So almost every, if not every, atomizer I put on here does get contact with that pin. Where I do have issues is this pin down here. This is another spring-loaded contact, also brass, I believe, if not copper. And that is kind of where issues become seen. What this contact on the bottom is supposed to do, and this is where I'm going to the next part of the video, or the part of the disassembly, is you have an inner brass tube that's inside the main body. This brass tube slides into the body. The top cap is supposed to touch, let's see if I can get this on camera, it's supposed to touch just this outer tube piece here when you have it all threaded down and screwed together. Sometimes it doesn't contact, or you get a little bit of corrosion. In fact, you can kind of see that little blemish right there? That was where I actually had it contacting at one point, and it sort of corroded or discolored it, and I think that was from it arcing actually, or getting resistance through the contact point. And that's a point that I wanted to get to. In most of other mods, you don't have to worry about that contact point because it's a straight through. You have your center pin contact through the center of the mod, you have your fire button, and then the outer section of the mod is your ground. In this one, you have one more positive contact that you have to worry about, and it's kind of strange. It's not the most it's not the best designed piece of equipment in the world. It works, but it doesn't always work well. You'd have some insulators on this, and these do, I repeat, these do have to be on. Otherwise, you will have a shorting issue, and then batteries get really warm, possibly catastrophic failing. You do not want that. So make sure you always do have these on here. Make sure they are in good condition, not cracked, not falling apart, but you do want them on here. And they thread onto the outer pieces of this tube. You also have another one on this side. And like I said, these are insulators. They look like just regular Teflon plastic or just some sort of a plastic insulator. So let's get back to it. We'll reassemble this since we blew it completely apart. That's pretty much all that's there. You have some battery venting on this side. You can actually see it through the housing. I'll flip it around. That is your battery venting, which is good. I'm glad they do include battery venting. It is very shiny. In fact, you do have some engravings on the bottom. You have the hammer logo. You do have a serial numberized based system, which I do not know if it's accurate or not. You have some engraving on the sides of the hammer itself. Let's see if I can get that in there. I'm trying not to shine my lens. On the other side also, a lot of the same. It is very heavy. It is very sturdy. I mean, you could probably drive over this housing with a car, and short of having a couple of scratches in it, it'd probably still work. So, like I said, we'll reassemble this, sliding the brass positive tube in. This tube does act as your positive connection, so slide that in, and the way you want to slide it in is make sure that these holes go inside first. Those are for your venting. Next piece is your threaded locking ring. That goes on next. And these are very coarse threads, so it doesn't require a lot of turning to get it in there. And you just want this finger tight. So sometimes I just use my thumb, stick it in there, and very carefully turn on it with a little bit of pressure. Give it a little shake. No rattling. That's good. We'll put the top cap back on. Like I said, this is a spring-loaded pin that contacts this brass tube in here. Thread that on. Finger tight. And your fire button would go on next. So we will try this in 18350, and I have some purple E-Fest batteries that I will use for demonstration. So your positive goes in first. You'll see right inside you have a dimple. Let's see if I can get some light on here. There's a little dimple. And then because the venting is off the top of the battery, so in case your battery does ever fail, the top is where the venting is supposed to happen. So being that the holes are on this side, you want to slide the positive in first. Next you want to put on your you want to put on your switch, your mechanical switch. And one thing I like to do is push the switch and just verify that it is protruding a little bit. Put that on. Now one thing I have noticed with the hammer, it doesn't tighten down to be a completely flush to the body, and I think they do that for the reasons of battery sizes are all different. They sometimes are 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters shorter or longer depending on the battery itself. One thing I like to do before going too crazy on assembling and putting an atomizer on here is I happen to have a Tobeco voltage little 510 body for testing voltage, and I'll thread that on just to verify that I am getting contact. Push the button. We are at 4.09 volts. This was a fully charged battery, so 4.09 4.1 volts, so that's a fully charged battery. So we know we're getting good contact. We'll take that off. And I do enjoy using the hammer with the K-Fun. This is a K-Fun clone. Sovamesto K-Fun clone. I'm not sure who cloned this one. It does work well. K-Funs tend to whistle a little bit. I do have the airflow screw in here, but I do have it backed out as far as I can without losing the screw or dropping the screw out. This is a 1 ohm build, so I will show you that on here. It is a let's give her a little tighten here. It's a 0.9 ohm build, so almost 1 ohm, but 0.9 ohms. So bouncing a little bit between 0.89 and 0.9, so that should be close enough. Alright, so we'll take that off, and we will thread that on. And because this is a spring-loaded contact, you shouldn't have any issues with it not contacting your center pin. So we'll give it a little push. Yep. And I'm hearing it. I don't know if you guys are. We'll put it closer to the mic. Oh yeah. K-Fun did a little pop. Sometimes the K-Funs do a little pop. It's just a sign of a K-Fun. So we will do a quick vape with it in 18350. And it's working well. I do like this mod in 18350 mode over all of the others, for the simple reason it's smaller. You put it next to a 18650, for instance. Here's an 18650, and we will just butt those up so that it is flat. And you can already see the difference in height. I mean, you're without the drip tip, you're talking about an atomizer's height. So, but it is handy. It's easy to fire because you're just using your thumb. In some cases, I'll just use the palm of my hand. In some cases, I'll flip it around. I'll use my index finger, my middle finger. It just depends on how you want to fire it. It does give you those options. So. And it does a good job. So next, let's try it in 18500. And to make that transition, all you have to do is take the firing button off, pop the battery out, set that aside, and I have another purple eFest 18500 right here. Purple eFest 18500, 1000 milliamp, they claim 15 amps. So, again, positive side of the battery goes inside first. Then you want this tube, this is the shorter tube of the two, you want to thread that on here like this. Then you put the cap on, or your fire button on, and this is kind of where it gets a little goofy. It doesn't, with the 18500, or at least the one that I'm using here, it's a little bit long, so it only grabs a few threads on the barrel. So you're left with just a touch of a gap. No rattle, but that's kind of what you're left with. So it will work, but it's not optimal. I find that it should have been a closer fit. If that tube was just slightly longer, it would have been better. And it fires. And it vapes. So, disassemble it one more time. Oh, I did get the locking ring. So yes, here is the locking ring. The locking ring, like I said, is a little wonky. It's just a strip or a ring that threads down to keep you from pushing the button. If you do over tighten it though, it has a tendency of locking up, and then you have to, it is usually easier to unlock that ring while it's on the device, and sometimes it just comes alive on its own and once you lock it, I guess. I don't know. So let's take the fire button back off. Set that down. Take this tube off. Set that down. Goodbye 18500. Now let's take an 18350. not an 18650. I'm sorry, guys. I am scatterbrained. So this is a VTC5 18350 Sony battery. Dropping that inside. Need the longer tube out of the box. Thread that on. Snug it up. Take the fire button, put that on. Snug it up. And it fires. For battery life, I do like the 18650 mode on this much better, but with an 18350 mode, it's easier to kind of haul around and use. It's a lot easier to palm fire it. You can palm fire the 18650, but it just feels goofy. So I guess that's all the battery modes. Why don't we try 18650 with a kick? The kick is a little difficult to use in this case because you have to insert it in such a way, and I don't believe this was actually meant to be used with a kick. So let me grab the kick and see if this is even feasible, if this is something that it is even capable of doing. So here we have a kick. I believe I have this set for... Oh, what am I thinking? This won't even work. Never mind. I can't use the kick. I could probably put one of my other atomizers on here. I do have a Pro Tank 2 we'll try on it. But we'll slide this inside. You have to slide this in this tube, and I'm probably going to hate myself for doing it because you have to somehow pull it out. Let me think. There's probably an easier way to do this. Let me just pull the kick out of here. Very carefully using a tweezers and popping this out. Alright. Let me think this through. So, we need this to contact positive. So if we flip the battery around, you can drop the ground side in like that. So you have the positive facing out. Put the 18650 ring on. Put the shorter extension on. Make sure your blue dial's facing out. Slide that in the tube. And I just don't see this working. I don't know if this is going to work. Nope, it's not going to work. So, scratch that. It will not work with a kick. Don't even try it. It's not worth the time. So, this device will work with 18350, 18500, 18490, 18650, all mechanical without a kick module. So we will put the kick away. I'm kind of, I even mentioned it. But it's good that you guys know now. So I'll put this back in 18350 mode since that is the way I like using it. Again, a recap, it does have issues with some atomizers, so that is something worth noting. The locking ring is less than desirable. It doesn't always like to work. I wish it was reverse threaded. That would make it a lot easier, but it is not. There are sometimes issues with gap between the tubes, especially I've noticed that on 18500. There is a considerable gap here. As far as I know, it is common or it is normal. So, here you have it, the hammer clone by Tobeco. So, that was the hammer clone by Tobeco. I believe this was made by Tobeco, but everything that I've been reading or looking at tells me this was a clone by Tobeco. So, overall, it does work. It does not work terribly great. It does look interesting, which is kind of the reason why I got it. It is something that you can kind of show off to your friends a little bit. You can have it as a table piece. It does look nice, and it does work, but it does have issues sometimes. So, for anybody who is interested in the hammer clone, there you have it. There's the hammer. And I do have a Stellaire dripper on here. And it works well. I don't suggest using it with super low ohm builds because they can sometimes cause an arcing between the contact of the center cap and the positive tube inside. So we'll vape this. And it does vape well. So there you have it. Thanks for viewing, guys. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It helps me greatly through YouTube. And it will help me bring you more videos and hopefully give you some better quality videos too. So thanks for viewing, guys. Let's keep on vaping.